القسم الإذاعي بموقع التلفزيون المصري الأوربي يقدم لقاء إذاعي. إعداد وتقديم محمد الحريري. هندسة إذاعية كريم محمود. إخراج محمد إسماعيل.
أعزائي المستمعين، أهلا بكم وحلقة جديدة من لقاء إذاعي. لقاءنا اليوم مع السيدة شوري هاشمي، مديرة منظمة العفو الدولية بفيينا. هيرسي فيلكومن. ونحب أن نسألك في البداية عن السياسة الأوروبية والنمساوية فيما يتعلق بحقوق اللاجئين ولم الشمل.
So I'll start. Good morning. Thank you for coming. I'm happy to be able to give you an interview today. My name is Shora Hashemi. I'm the co-director of Amnesty International Austria for already 2 years. And I would like to tell you about a few major points that we are working on at the moment. Very important topic in the Austrian national politics is asylum politics, migration law, and also European Union migration and asylum politics. And at the moment, there is one major problem in Austria. It's the suspension of the family reunification that the new government is planning. They have already decided on it. They have changed the asylum law in Austria, and they will start with, we think, mid-May. They will start with the suspension of applications for family reunification. As most of you know, in the last years, many people, thousands a year, came to Austria via family reunification, mostly women and children from Syria, from Afghanistan. And the new government wants to bring the numbers down. We think this is something that is very difficult from a human rights standpoint. We have the European Human Rights Convention that states in Article 8 that we have human right to the unity of family. And also the European Court of Justice has stated several times in its findings that families need to be united, that this is a human right, but the government of Austria wants to change this law, unfortunately, and they want to suspend the family reunifications at least until September 2026. And at the moment, they are preparing a new law for that. And we are, of course, against it. We have talked to the government about it. And we think this new law will be suspended by the European Court of Justice because it is against European Union law. It is illegal. It is against human rights. But we will see what comes out of it. So this is at the moment where we stand regarding the family reunification. And then there is one other thing, and this is the European Union Asylum and Migration Pact that has been decided last year in June 2024, and it needs to be executed until 2026. And all the European Union countries are working on it. And this is also very difficult for us as a human rights organization, because the idea of the European Union is that asylum seekers, when they arrive at the European Union, they need to stay at the border countries, they need to file for asylum at border countries and then wait there in camps, and we don't know what kind of camps this will be, if it would be like a prison or if it will be an open camp. They need to stay there until their asylum case is decided. Also families with small children, there is no exception. So this is also something that we need to monitor. It will be executed in the next 2 years. We will see how it goes, how countries will even be able to build those camps, because it is quite an infrastructure challenge also for some countries, especially countries that are at the European Union border, like Romania, Bulgaria, and so on. So we will monitor that. But these are two major examples of human rights challenges that we have at the moment regarding asylum migration. Then, of course, the war in Ukraine, which is also something that we are working on as Amnesty for several years now, for 3 years. We have published many reports on war crimes taking place in Ukraine, on Ukrainian soldiers on the one hand, prisoners of conscience on the other hand, women, children. We have published reports about, unfortunately, sexual violence, about torture. We hope very much that there will be a deal someday, a political solution. But what is to us as a human rights organization, the most important part is that the warrant that has been published for President Putin, that this needs to be also executed. And we see that the international community, or at least a part of the international community, is not really aware of this warrant. President Putin is able to travel very freely, which shouldn't be the case with an ICC warrant. Until it's been there since 2023 already. So this is something that is a real failure at the moment for rule of law, for human rights, for the rules-based order. And this is something that we talk to governments all the time, that they make sure that President Putin is arrested whenever he travels outside of the country. He traveled to Mongolia last year, and Mongolia is a member state of the Rome Statute of the ICC, the International Criminal Court, and they did not arrest him. So this was, in our case, it was also, again, a failure of the international community. The next very big topic, I think this is the biggest topic at the moment for Amnesty International globally, but also for our section here in Austria, is of course the war in Gaza, the war against Palestinian people. We have worked for a long time on this matter, but last year in December 2024, we published our flagship report on the genocide on Palestinian people, where we stated, it was a 300-page report where we stated also with legal conclusions that the Israeli government is preparing, or is there is a genocide taking place and they are responsible for it. Our report was not only focused on individual responsibility by Premier Minister Netanyahu or Defense Minister Gallant, the former defense minister, but we were focusing on the state responsibility. So what we say is the state of Israel is responsible for the genocide on the Palestinian people. This is a major thing to say. We were the first human rights organization, the first big human rights organization to say that loudly. We have this 300-page report with, I think, a very intense and thorough investigation taking place. We, of course, submitted that report also to the International Criminal Court and the International Court of Justice, where there is also a genocide plea taking case at the moment. It was brought forward by the state of South Africa, but many other countries joined. And we, of course, we wanted to support the International Court of Justice with the genocide case against Israel. And very parallel to the report in December, we started also here in Austria our anti-genocide campaign. So we are at the moment very busy with organizing protest actions together with other civil society organizations. We work together with Standing Together Vienna, with the Palestinian Solidarity Group, etc. We try to organize protests. We try to organize smaller civil disobedience actions in front of embassies. We were yesterday, for example, we were before the Hungarian embassy in Vienna because Premier Minister Netanyahu was in Hungary.
Before 2 days, yeah.
Yes, he was in Hungary, and he's staying until Sunday there. It's a 5-day state visit, which is for us, again, a failure of the international community that someone who is an international fugitive, a war criminal, can travel freely to a European Union country, also neighbor country of Austria, with very intense bilateral relations, and he doesn't get arrested, which is, of course, a shame for everybody, to be honest, not only for the Hungarian government, but also for the whole European Union countries. And there was not much protest. The Austrian government didn't say anything. We contacted them. We contacted all the ministries, but they were quite silent. So this is what we do at the moment. We try to raise awareness. We try to talk to people about the genocide taking place against the Palestinians. And of course, we want the genocide to stop. We want the armed conflict to stop. But whenever that happens, there is still the case that we need to solve this also legally. So we are very behind the fact that Premier Minister Netanyahu and former Defense Minister Gallant, there are warrants against those people. They need to be arrested, and they need to be transferred to The Hague, and there need to be the case against them for war crimes, crimes against humanity. We would love the chief prosecutor of the International Criminal Court to broaden the case to genocide. At the moment, there is a case against Netanyahu and Gallant only against for crimes against humanity, but not for genocide. So this is also something we are working on. We are preparing reports all the time and submitting them to the International Criminal Court, so that they maybe change the warrant also to genocide, which would be very important to us. And then there is one other big thing, that we work with the civil society in Austria. We try to raise awareness also among normal people that are not very active maybe in the human rights sector, that they understand that this is a genocide. This is not something you can only talk about as like an armed conflict, which doesn't matter. And we see that it's very difficult in Austria, as one of the perpetrator countries of the Holocaust, to talk about a genocide taking place by Israel. So we get attacked a lot because of that, but we think, as the leading human rights organization, that this is our duty to talk about that, and to make sure that people understand that even as the perpetrator country of the Holocaust, Austrians should be able to say that this is a genocide taking place, and this is not okay. It's not okay because it is Israel or it is someone else. It is never okay when a genocide is committed. But this is something that is very difficult in Austria and also very difficult in Germany. And we see that with the political environment here, there is not much openness for these discussions, and there is a very difficult discourse that we see. And also there is the protests that are taking place, there is much repression. So people get fined for coming with the Palestinian flag somewhere, or saying that they are against genocide. So we also try to be louder to protect those people, so that they can say what they want to say, because we do have freedom of speech in Austria. So these are the challenges that we are working on when it comes to Gaza and the genocide on Palestine. Iran was a major topic when I started with Amnesty 2 years ago, because it was right after this women's revolution taking place, women, life, freedom, many protests. At the moment, unfortunately, it is not very loud. There are no demonstrations taking place. We are still taking care of Iran when it comes to prisoners of conscience, because there are many thousands prisoners of conscience in Iranian prisons. Many people that get the death penalty. So this is something we work on all the time, trying to save people's lives so that they don't get executed. But we see that it's difficult with Iran because European Union countries want to normalize relations with Iran, also with the new president that has taken seat last year, Mahmoud Pezeshkian. He wants to be more friendly with European Union states. So I don't see a window of opportunity at the moment that there will be another government in Iran. So we focus on human rights work with prisoners of conscience and people trying to save them from execution, basically.
And what is the problem for you who work in Middle East?
Our main problem, I would say, is that we cannot work in every country. So we have an office in Beirut, Lebanon, where it's our biggest office at the moment, with 14 people working on the ground. They are doing important work because they are dealing with Syria, Lebanon, and Gaza. We cannot work in Israel. I mean, we have an Amnesty International section there, but we cannot do research work in Israel and the occupied Palestinian territories, which is difficult for us. So we have to work with freelancers. We cannot work in Egypt, for example, freely. But we do have many Amnesty International staff coming from Egypt. So this is fine. We cannot work in Iran, for example. So this is, I think, the main obstacle that governments do not let us be on the ground. Now in Syria, we could send people to Syria who could investigate the recent massacres on the Alawite minority. This was possible, fortunately. But with most countries, it is difficult to do thorough research if you're not on the ground, because you always have to depend on freelancers. We have a big amnesty section in the United States, and we fear that they will be attacked a lot in the coming years by the US government. We have organizations like Greenpeace. They have been fined in front of the court last 2 weeks ago with $600 million US. So Greenpeace USA, they need to close down most likely. So this is something that we fear, that the new US administration will attack NGOs, will attack civil society, and will weaken us.
The war in Sudan.
The war in Sudan is also something we are dealing with. We are maybe not that loud. I mean, not our section, but our international secretariat in London is dealing with it. The main problem at the moment with the war in Sudan is that it's very difficult for us to get researchers on the ground. We have a few people in London dealing with Sudan. We get many reports from inside the country regarding not only displacement and these things, but also, unfortunately, sexual violence, which is taking place there. And we are preparing a report also for Sudan at the moment.
في نهاية اللقاء بنشكر السيدة شورى هاشمي مديرة منظمة العفو الدولية بفيينا. كما نشكركم أعزائي المستمعين على حسن المتابعة، وإلى لقاء إذاعي آخر. Danke.
Thank you. Dankeschön.